Hello and welcome back to your mat. Today we're going to do what I'm going to call a time-saving class. So we're going to focus on one pose with variations, but this pose has a lot of benefits. It's a very efficient pose that you can fit into your day anytime. So we'll get started right away. No props are needed. And I want to go with a fun quote today because today's pose is downward facing dog. So today's fun quote is by Franklin P. Jones. Scratch a dog and you'll find a permanent job. I know that's true because my dog loves when people scratch her. So we're going to start out in child's pose just to arrive here on the mat. So bring your seat back to your heels or thereabouts and stretch your hands out in front of you and bring your forehead to the ground if that works for you. We're just arriving here for a moment, stretching out that back body before we come into our down dog with its variations. And then from there, we're going to come up and we're going to come into puppy pose. So before we go to downward dog, we're going to do a little puppy pose. So puppy pose, from all fours, you're going to step the hands out, big step out in front of you, and you're going to sink that chest forward. And again, your foot will come to the ground, but your hips are going to stay in line with your knees where they were originally in the all fours. So this is going to stretch through your arms, getting us ready for our downward dog. Take a couple breaths there, and then come on up. Come back to all fours. Set yourself up. Hands planted in front of you. And now we're going to go into downward facing dog. So I'm going to put my hair back, make this a little easier. But we're going to go ahead and come back into our downward facing dog and arrive there for just a moment. And then we'll do the first variation. So arrive in your down dog with your hips up. And our first variation is simple. We're going to walk the dog. So we're going to bend that left knee deeply and straighten the right, or to your degree. And then switch. Bend deeply in that right leg and have that left leg straight. You're just going to move between those with the breath. So inhales and exhales as you bend one leg, straighten the other. Bend the other, straighten the other. Do that for a few rounds, really pushing through the floor here. Your hips are up. This pose does a lot for us. I mean, we're working the entire body here. So if you are short on time, this is a great pose to do. One more each side. And then we're going to carefully walk forward on our mat and come into a forward fold before we go into the next variation. So just go ahead and dangle forward here, release all of that. And then walk yourself back to a shorter downward dog stance this time. So go ahead and shorten up that stance a little bit, because now we're going to come into a twist. So now we're going to leave the left hand on the mat. We're going to take that right hand and reach for our calf, our shin, possibly the ankle, whatever works for you. But then you're going to twist yourself and look underneath of that left armpit. So we got down dog with a twist here. This one requires a little bit more strength in that left arm there. Breathe there. Release, and we'll come to the other side. So go ahead and plant that right hand, and now your left arm is going to reach underneath. Grab the calf, your ankle, your shin, whatever it grabs. And then go ahead and look underneath of that right shoulder. Twisting yourself. Breathing here. This is a strong pose. And release that. And then we're going to walk our hands back this time to meet our feet. And we're going to fold forward. And then we have one more variation we're going to do here. So we're going to go ahead and walk our hands forward and come back into our full regular down dog. And then from here, listen carefully. So you're in your regular down dog, and then you're going to take your heels, both of your heels, and turn them toward the left side of your mat. So your toes are pointed toward the right. So we're a bit of a twisted, turned down dog here. And again, you can have a bend in your knees if you like, or you can straighten those out. You're going to feel a different stretch there, though. So we're getting into all kinds of different nooks and crannies all through downward dog. Breathe here. Come back to center, and then bring both of your heels over to the right, and your feet will be facing to the left. And go ahead and again, get deep into that downward facing dog here. Keep your hips up toward the sky, but of course your body is slightly turned to the left. Bring your toes back toward the center. Drop those knees. You're back on all fours. And then sink those hips back and come into your child's pose. So we're going to end where we started. Forehead to the ground and release all of that. When you feel ready, come all the way back up to a seat. So this was obviously a very short practice. But this is great because you can fit this in any time of day. If you got 5 minutes, you can run through that. So what we did, just as a quick little recap, we started in child's pose. Then we came up into all fours and stepped our hands forward into a puppy pose. Then we came into our puppy pose. We came back into our downward facing dog. Then we took our dog for a walk by bending one leg and then the other. We walked forward on our mat. And then we went into the next variation where we did the shorter stance and we did our twist. So we had one hand on the ground and reached with the opposite hand under. And then we walked our hands back, forward folded again, have a little break in between, and then we walked out into our downward dog one last time for that heels, where we did the heels going both directions. So you can do any of those variations. You could do all of those variations, or you could just do down dog, and that would make for a great practice. So I hope this was helpful and nice, short and sweet, but good for the whole body. Thank you for joining me, and until next time.